My name is Kay Robinson. My company is InSight Business Solutions. It's a business coaching and consulting company. Been doing it for, and they say, never say you've done anything for more than 20 years. Okay, so I haven't done it for more than 20 years. I'm also a co-owner with my husband of a video production and casting, principal casting company called Grand Avenue Productions and Casting. So, combination of things, business owner and business coach. Now, the topic for today is getting consistent and reliable results. And I'm probably going to approach this from a different perspective than you might expect. So we're going to start with a premise. And the premise is whether you're the only person doing the work of your business or whether you have people working with you, the premise that I'm going to speak from is that you have a business that serves your life, which is different than having a business that consumes your life. So the premise that I work with all my clients on is have a business that serves your life. What does that mean? That means having, I'm going to suggest, you may have a different definition of this, but I'm going to suggest that a business that serves your life is a profitable business that produces consistent and reliable results, whether you're there or not. I said that to a client the other day, and he goes, oh, that's the dream. That's the dream. And I said, that's exactly right. He's exactly right. The first step in actually creating consistent, reliable results, creating a business that serves your life and one that can operate consistently and reliably, whether you're there or not, does start with the dream. And what I mean by that is having a really clear vision of what do you want your business to look like. Otherwise, you're just getting up and going to work every day. Or maybe when you started your business, you had a vision of what you wanted, but then you forgot, you got lost in the work of it. So you forgot, why did I do this? Why did I think this was a good idea? So the first step for everyone is to really think about, what will my business look like when it's done? Because if you can't imagine it, if you can't see it in your mind's eye, you can't create it. And if you're not really thinking about where you're going, then you're just working hard every day. So the first step for everyone, whether you're a solopreneur or you have people working with you, is to think about, and I actually try to give it a box, because what I experience with my clients is they actually achieve that vision much more quickly than they think, and then they have to create another one, which is fine. But think of like something that you can actually accomplish, like a 3-year vision. Like where do I want this company to be in 3 years? Where do I want my business to be in 3 years? And really be clear about it. Because if you're not clear, then how can you create it? So not only are you going to create that 3 to 5 year vision or dream or whatever you call it, write it down. Because what happens too often is the owners hold everything in themselves and they don't share it with their people. They don't put it in the business. So whatever you come up with, write that down. The next important step is, whether you're going to work with people or on your own, is decide the culture of the business. If you're going to have people working with you, you want to decide what you want it to be like to work with you in your business. The key word is the culture. What's it like to work with you in your business? And that you intentionally design that. Now, a simple way of designing that is to decide what your company values are. What's important to you? What do you hold as important? I was talking to a new client in Australia the other day, and she was complaining about, nobody ever does what she wants them to do, or they do it their own way, that they're, not doing what she wants them to do, or whatever. And I said, well, did you tell them what's important to you? Now, in her case, it's a construction company. And what was important to her was different than what was important to her new GM, and it was just creating havoc for the company. I said, but did you tell them? Well, no, isn't it common sense? No, it's not common sense. So if you don't tell your people what you value and what's important to you, then you're not going to get what you want from them. You're not going to get those consistent, reliable results that you want. So the second step is to decide, what values do you hold as a company? And you can stick it on the wall, but it's not meant to go on the wall. It's meant to help your people understand how they're going to work together, how they're going to work inside your company, the kind of culture that you're building with people in your company, even if there's just 2 of you. understanding that is an important step in order to get the results that you want. So second, and then write that down. write down those values. What's really important is that it lives in you, but unless you start to think about it and write it down, you're not even really clear. So the process of writing it down makes it more clear for you. Okay, the third thing that's really important to get, so you get those consistent results, is to define the customer experience that you want everyone to deliver. I'll go back to this company, this construction company in Australia I was talking about. They've been in business for 20 years. They hired a new GM, and she's really good, I guess. She builds great homes, or buildings. They do buildings. She creates, she leads her team to create great buildings. But the promise that the owner makes to her government contracts is, we're going to get it done on time, on budget, at the quality that you want. That's her promise. That's the client experience that she promises to her clients when she gets her contracts. But her GM didn't know that, so her GM just focused on getting the project done well, which they did, but they were never done on time and they were never done on budget. And I said, well, Leanne, did you tell her? Did you tell her the customer experience that you're promising? She said, well, no. If you don't tell them, how do they know? So the third thing is being really clear, what is the customer experience or the client experience you want your people to deliver? Everyone, everybody, from your factory worker to your receptionist to your salesperson, everybody delivers that exact same, but you have to write it down. What is it? What is that customer experience? And by the way, when you do that, you're building on your brand reputation, because then people know what they're going to get when they work with you or they work with your company. So those are the three foundational things as owners of a company, or if you work for someone who's an owner, you should ask them for these things, like, what are our values? Where are we going? Who's steering the ship? Where are we going? And what's the client experience that we're trying to create here? So once you define those things, oh, by the way, when you create your vision for your business, you don't have to know how to get there. You don't. Because you'll figure that out. That's the strategy part. The first part is just deciding where you want to go. And then you create strategies to get there. The other thing is, when you're going back to the vision again, it's got to be something that inspires you, that's worth working for, and something that inspires your people to work with you to achieve that objective. Because you don't want your people to think of it as just a job. You actually want them to work with you to achieve your objectives for the business, to be aligned with your company values, to work with you to be aligned with the culture you're trying to create, and to deliver the exact same customer experience that you want them to deliver. Even if right now it's just you still define those things as you build your business, because it helps you build your products and your services and what you're going to deliver to your customers. Okay, so that starts first. Now, how do you get consistent and reliable results? Well, it starts with knowing the results you're trying to create, but that goes back to the vision, because you wrote in there, here's what I'm creating, right? This is what I want. But you're going to depend on, if you have people, you're going to depend on people to produce those results. So being very clear with your people, what are they responsible for? What position do they hold in your company, and what are they responsible for? Not what they do. Too often we tell people what to do. But if people need you to tell them what to do, then they need you there to tell them what to do. And the goal is to have a business that can run successfully whether you're there or not. So you want to give people responsibility for things that they can take ownership of, that they're going to take care of whether you're there or not. So rather than tell them what to do, you're going to tell them what they're responsible for doing. Does that make sense? Everybody knows the difference on that one? Okay. So what they're responsible for. Because now you can develop them to take ownership of those responsibilities, because now you're starting to create people who actually can do things when you're not there. So you want to give them clearly defined responsibilities. And actually a lot of owners find that the hardest thing to do, is to take the time to think, okay, what do I want Susie to be responsible for? What's her position? What do I want her to be responsible for? What do I really expect from my receptionist? What are they responsible for? So, responsibilities. Now, they have to learn how to do those things, how to produce those results and those responsibilities. So responsibilities also define the result. Like, what result are they expected to produce? Okay. How many of you have read E-Myth Revisited? There's one back there. Okay. Two hands up. Okay. Okay. So this whole perspective, I'm an E-Myth coach as well. So if you haven't read the E-Myth Revisited and you're a business owner, I highly recommend it. It's a really good way of how to think differently about your business. Okay. So I mentioned that because now we're going to talk about systems. And that, E-Myth is all about systems. The E-Myth Revisited. E-Myth, E-M-Y-T-H, revisited by Michael Gerber. Yeah. The E-Myth is he wrote this like in 1977. It's still the most important business book around for small business owners. He basically said, quickly, is just because you're good at doing the work of your business, doctor, lawyer, expert, technician, doesn't mean that you can build a business that does that work. So he talks about how do you build the business around the skills of your company. So I highly recommend that. But I mentioned that here because in Michael's perspective is you have to tell people how you do it, how you want the work done. Exactly how you want it done. You have to define how you want the work done. So if Susie's in charge of inventory to make sure that your shop has all the right inventory so that when people come into your shop, they can buy what they want to buy, how does Susie know how to do that? You have to give her a system. You define how do we do inventory in my company so that Susie can follow my system and make sure that the shop is stocked so when my customers come in, we're not running around looking for the products they're trying to buy, as an example. Or a sales system. If you have salespeople, or you're the salesperson, you can even create these systems for yourself. Because the idea is to figure out how do we get this done? How do we produce this result? So it's like a sales system. Let's use sales system, because all of you, if you run a business or you're a professional, you're selling. Everybody does it. So a sales system. What's the right steps to go through for my company, for your company, to convert qualified leads at a high rate? What's the system? Now, remember, the whole point is to produce results so that you get consistent, reliable results whether you're there or not. So you keep innovating your system until you get the results that you want. Now, for the inventory lady, you want to make sure that she's responsible for inventory, that she follows your system, and that following your system actually makes sure that you have everything you need in your shop when people need to do that. For the sales guy, it's making sure that he or she follows your system. And if they follow your system, they're converting at a high rate. The right clients. The right clients. So everything, you think about everything. You give your people the systems for how you want things done. So there's a series of barbershops in New York. And they have like six shops. And we were talking about the fact they're very successful, except their clients are really mad because clients, if they go to it's the same name, same company, different barbershops. They go into different shops, they get entirely different experience. And the barbers are going, well, I'm a professional, I'm going to do it the way I want to do it. I go, okay, great, you are trained, you have a license, you know how to cut hair. But how we treat our customers inside our store is a system. Like One client complained because Arnold gives his clients extra warm towels when he's doing his haircuts, and Fred does not. And Arnold's client was saying, well, how come, he gets warm towels and I don't? Shouldn't be like that. There should be a standard way. This is how we do it here. Even if you're a licensed professional doing the work, which you know how to do, but the experience is a system inside the company. And it has to be written. Too often, first of all, every company does have a system. It's just not written. It's just, you do have it. There's a way you do things. May not be consistent, maybe not reliable. But think about, starting to write down the way that you want things done in your company so that your people can follow your system. We only have 20 minutes. I'm giving you a lot of information in 20 minutes, but here we'll go to the next piece of this. I don't know where I am in time, but where's Rebecca? Rebecca, is David here? Oh my God. Okay. Help someone. She's keeping me on time here. Okay. So the next piece is, great, you've got people, you've got systems, and people say to me, no one ever follows my systems. I spent hours writing these systems. Everybody knows what they're supposed to do, and they just won't follow them. Anybody have that experience? People don't do what I ask them to do. So the next step is to work with your people, to develop your people, to follow your systems, to get better at following your systems. And we're going to go back to inspiring and engaging your people to work with you to achieve your vision, to be aligned with your values, to deliver your customer experience. You can't make anybody do anything. And if you own a business, you know that this is true. You have to get their agreement. So thinking about managing people as an agreement, that you have an agreement with them. Like Susie, you're not following my inventory process. What's the problem? Understanding why your people aren't following your systems. Really, is it the system's bad? So once you have your systems, it's working with your people to get them to be better at it, which means mentoring your people, supporting them in getting better, encouraging them to get better, so that they get better at using your systems so that you have a profitable business that's operating consistently and reliably and doesn't depend on you being there all the time. So I said a lot, but there are really 6 things I pointed out. The foundation, which is all about leadership. The company needs a leader, and that's you. So leadership, people have to follow your lead. And honestly, people love leadership. They really do. They like to know that somebody's steering the ship, knows where we're going, and they've got a plan. So owners have to show leadership, which is letting people know, here's where we're going, and here's our plan to get there. Any questions on this so far? Okay. Have any of you written systems? Oh, she read the book. She cheats.
It's life-changing. That book, honestly, is life-changing. I read it early on. I listened to it coming back from the workshop, and I was like, oh my gosh, why didn't somebody tell me this before?
Yeah. Okay. So writing systems, I'll give you some hints, because you can start, first of all, systematizing a business so that because you do get consistent results if in fact you have systems and people follow them. But you cannot systematize a business all at once. It would be awful. I would hate doing it, you would hate doing it. So you think about creating a plan. And the plan is, what systems do we need? What systems does the company need? And then you start to create them one at a time, and it's an ongoing commitment forever. You're never done. Because things change and you change your system. But you start at the beginning, and you just start. Now, what system you decide to create first, it's up to you. Some people, I was working with, I work at a lot of companies in Australia. Another company in Australia, they're a medical certification company. And they decided the very first system they had to write, and they wrote it yesterday, was how to deal with high-risk nonconformities. Big word, which means that there's something at risk in the medical facility that needs to be addressed. So for them, it was a risk factor. They picked the thing that was the highest risk. Another client picked another thing that was just something that the owner said, people come to me every day asking me questions that they should know how to do this. Why are they coming and asking me? Anybody have that experience? Why are they asking me the same question every single day? Well, first, we didn't give them ownership to take responsibility for that, and we didn't give them a system to do it. So sometimes what you choose to create your first system is that one thing that people keep asking you about. You create the checklist so they can do it themselves. So one of the important things to think about as an owner is, what do people keep asking you? Those start with those systems. Or maybe something that's a huge frustration for you, that people always make a mistake. They're always doing this wrong. And make that your first system. So start simple, one at a time, but commit to keeping to develop, because every time you develop a system, things are better. So one at a time, over time. Most important thing when you're developing a system, most important thing when you're developing a system is to define the result that you want. Like, why are we doing this? What's the result that you want from that system? Now, some people say to me, oh, I don't want my company that structured. It just seems so structured, and it takes away personality, and it takes away whatever. That's actually not true. It's actually the opposite. Because remember, you gave people specific responsibility for something, so now they have ownership of it. You're going to give them a system, say, use this system to get this result, and you're going to tell them what the result is. They're going to say, okay, I agree. Okay, great. And now you're going to say, I want you to use this system, learn how to use it, and if you're not getting the result that we said, come back to me, let's figure it out. Let's innovate it. Let's change it. Because the goal is not to have a system. The goal is that the system is going to produce a very specific result. Anybody have a question about, anybody have a system that they think they need in their company as I talk about these? Anybody? Yeah.
It's okay to ask you, or
Yeah,
should I hold it to the end?
No, you got.
Okay, good. So, yeah, I have a question, a system for a professional technician massage therapist. And so we're always looking to better the customer, the client experience. So what would be an example of improving the system or system for that?
Okay, so what part of the client experience is not happening?
That's a very good question. I think the way that the feeling of the experience or the objective why they're coming in to feel better, right? Or to reduce pain, the three top things that they come in for. I think those things are being produced, they're getting that. So I can't say that that's happening. I think the objective that they're coming in for, they're getting. I would just say what they're not getting is, I would say the system would be to follow up to make sure they're coming back on a regular basis. If they have questions, that's the type of thing I'm asking.
So a reconversion of your clients, so they're returning clients, not just a one-time customer.
Exactly. So you don't have to work so hard to call me every month or whatever, to where that system is so embedded, where it's emails, whatever. It's like, oh my God, okay, it's not going to come back every 6 weeks or whatnot. It's that.
Yeah. So you think about sales is new customers, but you're always selling, which means that you're reconverting your existing customers to come back to your shop, to come back to your facility, to come back and get services again from you. So that's part of your sales process. The first, making them a customer or client, but then developing a strategy for how do we reconvert them to come back, and that's a system too. And you'll learn what's the right system for that. I hear that a lot. Anyone else have a question about a system that, yeah.
But once you come up with a system, what is the best way to implement the system to your team of
Yeah.
employees?
Okay, so first of all, you take your people and decide what their responsibilities are. And then you can't make anybody do anything. So I believe in management by agreement, meaning that you say to your employee, first you talk about the responsibilities that you want them to hold. You know, Fred, I want you to be responsible for managing this crew or whatever. And you really define exactly what that is. Okay. And you get their agreement. Do you agree? And if they don't agree, say, what don't you agree to? And you try to sort out what's going on with them in this business. Now remember, the position is designed to serve the business. It's not designed to serve your people. So you have to kind of remember your first responsibility is to your business. And you want to work with your people to develop them to work with you. So you want to work with this person to get into agreement and solve their issues about why they're not, okay? Once they agree to take responsibility, then you ask them, I'm going to give you a system, just follow this system and have them and get their agreement to follow the system. And if they don't want to follow the system, ask them why. And you're going to help solve that with them. Then you're going to measure results. You got to measure results. So if you find that Fred isn't following your system, even though he said he would, this is very common, they don't do what you said you're going to do. So you go back to Fred and you say, okay, Fred, I notice you're not following the system. Your job is to understand why. Sometimes you have to change how your employee thinks. They're not thinking like you're thinking. You're thinking like an owner, and they're thinking like a technician. And owners and technicians think different ways. Technicians just trying to get the work done. That's all they care about. That's the E-Myth concept. That there are technicians who do the work, the manager who manages the people, and the entrepreneur owner who's always trying to think of how to make it work. So you go back to Fred and you say, I notice you're not following our system. Let's talk about that. What's keeping you from following it? And you're really going to help him or her understand how they need to change how they think, and to help them set an expectation that they're going to start to follow. You know, what people often say is, I forgot. That's what they usually say is, I forgot. They didn't forget. They didn't buy in. They didn't fully commit. So you say, okay, Fred, forgetting is not an excuse. So what can we do they want to feel supported by you. So what can we do together to help you follow our system more consistently? So you're mentoring people, and you have to hold them accountable. If you create a system, tell them to use it, and then you don't hold them accountable, they're thinking, it doesn't matter. They don't really care. So implementation with people. Yeah.
I'm struggling a little with like the idea of a client and how this would fit into it, like hers or mine. Mine would be a parent who has young children and they're successful right now. Everything's going fine. Or wellness, everything feels good. I'm fine. How to change their mindset, or what am I doing to get them to come in at that point before they are like on fire?
So that has to do with the branding and marketing strategy of your services. You have to really think about what are you offering. It has to do with, like, I would call it product strategy and design, is really thinking about your business and what you're offering and how your parents think, what's important to them, what's on their mind, and how you can position and differentiate your company to attract them to come in. So it really goes back to being a strategic thinker about your company. Okay. All right, I'm done. Thank you all.
Thank you.